Paradise Tuesday to all in this bright, sunny, and maybe a little rainy Tuesday, the second Tuesday in March. Today is March 10th, 2026. Once again, welcome to At the Table with Crucian Educator. Today I have two guests in the studio, and I am going to let them introduce themselves, and then we'll have an interview. This is a gubernatorial team that we should be expecting to see on the ballot. As you know, we will have a general election this November. As far as a primary election, that seems to be up in the air at this point, exactly what's going on there, but definitely we will be having a general election in November. And it's very important that you pay attention to all the candidates. And this is a show that allows any prospective candidate to come and present their platforms to the public. And they could also submit to the Facebook page, Virgin Islands Affairs Forum, and you can interact with those candidates, potential candidates, on the Facebook page. You could also interact on the Facebook page for WSTX for this show, At the Table with Crucian Educator, which comes on Tuesdays live on Facebook and WSTX 970 AM on your radio dial. And it's a 1 hour radio talk show. You're allowed to call in after the presentation and the interview. You may call in. The numbers are 340-773-0490 and 340-773-0390. Thank you to my guests for accepting the invitation. Pleasant good morning, and you may introduce yourself at this moment.
Good morning. So first, we're wearing our new Green Party hats. We're running as Green Party candidates for governor, lieutenant governor. We will also be plan on fielding a full slate of senators and a delegate to Congress under the Green Party. The USVI Green Party can be found under USVI Green Party on Facebook, where you can read about it, see the posts, and interact. Okay, my name is Warren Mosler. I've run for office at least 3 times before, twice for delegate to Congress, once for governor 8 years ago. And I'm now running again. And I moved here in 2003 by invitation of the U.S. Department of Interior to participate in the EC program, which is an employment program, an economic development program for the Virgin Islands. And I moved my company called Balance down here, and for a 10-year contract, the VI government, which was renewed after the first 10 years in 2013, and then expired in 2023. So I'm no longer associated with that program. And I've developed a full agenda. We have a platform, a full platform, which I've sent you a copy of, which appears on Facebook.
I posted it on Facebook.
Very good. And it features the citizens' dividend, which we'll talk about a bit later. And we'll be urging you all to register and vote to make sure that you can participate. And I'll turn it over to Colin for his introduction.
My name is Colin Robertson. I'm from Sydney, Australia originally. I worked in the United States for 40 years. I got educated there and graduated there, and moved down here, retired to the US Virgin Islands. After looking around, found this to be the best place in the world. And we moved here, my wife and I moved here in 2013. We've been living and enjoying the island ever since.
What island
we're on St. Croix. Yeah.
Okay. So both of you are residents
Yes.
of St. Croix.
Yes.
Interesting. We never had a gubernatorial team from the same island, but It's not prohibited by law, right?
Here we are.
Okay, very well. And the Green Party, is it a registered political party with the Virgin Islands election system?
Okay, so there are two classes of political party. One is a political party, which is like the Democrats or Republicans,
Right.
where you can have the Virgin Islands will have a primary for you, where you can elect your candidates. And the other thing is called a political body, and that's a political organization where there is no primary. That's sponsored by the Virgin Islands government.
Okay,
And you submit your slate of candidates with all the appropriate documentation, signatures for approval, and then they put those on the ballot. Much like running independent only under a party banner. And so we are a political body, U.S. Virgin Islands political body. We have a constitution. We have not submitted the documentation yet because it's not available until April.
okay,
That will soon
Right,
come.
right.
And it will be U.S. Virgin Islands political body as opposed to a political party.
correct. Okay, I'm glad for the clarification.
Yeah.
So it's a political body or
Yes.
organization, but
Yes.
not necessarily a political party. So you're not associated with any political party, such as Democrats, Republican, and
No.
ICM.
The same way nationally, there's a Green Party. And
I
then-
guess I've heard of the Green Party.
Yeah, and
before.
it's a separate political party also. And now there's no connection with national either. There are no members of the national party. You can make donations and affiliate, but you don't actually become a member. So each political green party around the country, such as the USVI political party, is the Green Party is independent, and we come up with our
Okay.
platform independently.
Okay,
And there's some things that overlap with national and some don't.
okay.
Yeah.
And this Green Party,
You know,
when was it first established in the Virgin Islands?
okay, so there was an attempt at a Green Party
I recall,
many years ago,
yes.
and that was abandoned. So I started a new effort, fresh effort,
Yeah, I remember.
a few months ago,
Uh-huh. Okay,
which I started with a Facebook page, the USVI Green Party. And now we have over 600 people who have joined on Facebook.
Okay.
And that's where we stand right now.
and you said you're seeking to have a slate of senators. What about other positions, members of the Board of Education, the Board of Elections, delegate to House of Representatives?
Yes.
Are you going to have
We plan on a delegate, but not the others.
just the delegate
Right.
to House of Representatives?
Right, we're looking for people that can support our proposals and our agenda.
Platform, of
our
course.
platform. And our platform is largely involves the Senate and not so much the other positions.
Okay, now, can you tell us what makes you believe that you are going to be the best choice, the best team, the best gubernatorial team? You as running for governor,
Yes.
and then I will, the same
Lieutenant.
thing, as lieutenant governor, I will ask that to you.
Right. I think our platform is absolutely compelling, and we have demonstrated ability to be able to execute on the platform.
Mhm.
And for the benefit of everyone in the Virgin Islands, I think our citizens' dividend is transformational for the economy and
Mhm.
is something that's desperately needed here, the way a flower needs water. And we're going to do our best to make sure everyone knows about it. And
They're talking about it
are they talking
on
about okay.
Facebook a lot. Yeah.
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 It's for real. It's what I've done my whole life. I've been an investment manager. I've been in the capital markets, and I've made money for other people and paid it out to them
Uh-huh.
for 50 years. That's what I do best, and now I'm looking forward to the opportunity of doing that for the people of the Virgin Islands.
Very well. And you, Robert?
Well,
Colin Robert.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I'm here to back up Warren in our platform. My area of expertise is going to be in hospitality and in trying to improve relations on the island and also bringing businesses to the island. I support Warren's platform, and we met since I've been to St. Croix, and we've been very good friends ever since. And he's been proposing these ideas in the platform for years now, and I've listened to them and I've supported them, and so on.
Well, based on the Revised County Act of 1954, which is our de facto constitution, what is your understanding of the role of the lieutenant governor?
Traditional lieutenant governor is probably more in finance but that's Warren's specialty, so he's going to stick with that. And I'll let Warren describe what he wants me to do.
Okay.
Right. So banking and insurance is purview of the lieutenant governor.
Commissioner of banking and insurance is a lieutenant governor position.
But since I've been here, and I'm relatively new here, only 23 years.
That's a long time. You're a bona fide resident.
Yeah. I have yet to see a lieutenant governor who had any expertise in those areas. However, nor has the governor had any expertise in those areas. And I've seen, one mistake after another, one lost opportunity after another. I happen to have owned a bank for over 20 years, a small bank,
really?
And an insurance company for several years. I know how they work. I know what can be done. I've seen tremendous opportunities. And I'll be working with Colin when these issues come up to make sure that we participate and are benefited by all the opportunities we have in those areas. Now, the other thing I've seen, which is Colin's strength, and he's a little bit modest on this, is his success in the business world was based, I'll say, almost entirely on customer service. He was competing in a very competitive market in Oklahoma City with other clubs. He has a fitness tennis club in Oklahoma City. And the winners are the ones who had the customer service and could retain clients and have lots of happy campers, as they say. And what I've noticed in my 23 years here is people come out of various departments where they've gone in for various things without mentioning any names. I'm not trying to offend anybody. And they've had just very disappointing experiences. And I want people to come home and say, oh, I went to motor vehicles and what a wonderful experience. They were so nice to me and they were helpful and I forgot this and they helped me find it online. And Kyle is the one who understands the critical importance of customer service like that. And we can, by improving the interface between government and the people government is serving, right,
of course,
then that just ups our quality of life tremendously. And I look forward to having that happen here and making it just such a nicer place to live.
Well, it's good that we have, apparently we're going to have lots of choices when it comes to the gubernatorial theme. And you said you ran twice for delegate to House of Representatives. How was that experience for you, and how you believe what you have learned from it running for public office here in the Virgin Islands?
Right. So I ran and continue to run as a matter of conscience. I have ideas, proposals that I think would be beneficial. If I don't put them out there for people to look at and decide on, I can't sleep at night. I feel like I haven't done my civic duty. So I went out and campaigned very hard. I went everywhere, all the neighborhoods in both islands, and put my proposals out there. And I wound up getting a lot more votes than anybody thought. Something like 25% the first time against Donna Christensen, but no one had ever gotten more than 2 or 3%. And it wasn't based on my personality or anything. It was just the sheer force of the proposals and what could be done. And I found that a very good and uplifting experience. The second time, even better in terms of percentages. However, after the election, Senator Donna Stark came to me at the Tamarind Reef having breakfast. And he said to me, there was voter fraud. He said it wasn't the cartridges. It was the person the information went to a laptop from the cartridges. And that person reallocated the votes. He had reprogrammed that laptop to allocate the votes differently. Where for every 5 votes that you got, 2 went to Donna Christensen and 1 went to Holland Redfield.
Really?
Yes. And when I looked at the vote totals and reversed them for that effect, it came out to the exact numbers that I was polling. So it did that.
That's a strong allegation.
Yeah. So I filed a complaint with the U.S. Attorney Office here. And he said, thank you very much. We have 70,000 complaints nationwide. We'll do the best we can. I never heard back. Went to our Attorney General. I never heard back. Now, I was running as a matter of conscience. And it's not like I certainly would have been more than happy to do the job and get it done. But I've got certainly other things to do on that. So I didn't pursue it any more than that.
No, that's interesting.
Yeah. Now, and I've been on the forefront of corruption here for a long time. When I first got here, I had something called the mahogany auction. Do you remember that?
The mahogany auction?
Yeah. Okay. Where
under Turnbull?
Yes, under Turnbull.
I heard something.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
with mahogany furniture.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Governor Turnbull came to the auction and he bought $39,000 worth of furniture personally, which he paid for in cash. Okay. And the cash was $100 bills.
Interesting.
And rusty paper clips. In a paper bag, red bag.
I remember the paper bag story.
Yeah. Not only the story, I got concerned, so I took the money out, put it on the dining room table, took a picture of it. Okay. 4 days later, that picture is a cover of the Avis, sea of green, what's going on. And after that, I was on the Democratic Party, I was very upset. Okay. And so I'm full disclosure person. Okay. When these things happen, I talk about them and I do the best I can to do something about them. And so since then, Donna Christensen then sent an email to the Democratic Party, which I got a copy of and put in the newspaper, because again, I'm full disclosure. It said, we have to do everything we can to make sure Warren Mosler never has a voice or participates in USVI elections.
Really?
And that was published. I put it on the campaign. I still have a copy. Okay,
But
so that's what I've been up against.
When you make a transaction for more than 10,000 in cash, doesn't that have to be reported?
Yes. So my wife went to the bank with our attorney, Logan. By the way, who's the one who brought Stacy Plaskett here to handle my business account. So it's another story. And they went through proper procedures to deposit that money in the proper accounts, so people knew I was not involved with any wrongdoing. I was very concerned about
it. Yeah, that was controversial.
Yeah.
And then when you run for delegate to House of Representatives, wasn't there some concern about residency issue?
No.
It was none?
The law says the Constitution says the federal requirement is you have to be a resident on the day you take office.
An inhabitant specifically says that.
Yeah, on the day you take office.
Exactly. When you take office, you have to be.
Yeah, but I was in.
You can't become.
Right. I had already been one I had moved in 2003, and I lived here full time since 2003. I didn't run until 2004.
Yeah, but it does not specify in the Virgin Islands Code, nor in the Revised Organic Act, how long is the inhabitancy. And that created a lot of confusion the last time, and you still have someone on the board of elections saying any carpetbagger can come any day, can just arrive one day and file to run for delegate to House of Representatives. And I'm like, no, it doesn't say that. It says you have to be an inhabitant when you take office, not become, not after you arrive and you supposedly if you're elected, then suddenly you become one. You have to be an inhabitant. It's clearly there, but there's some clarification that's needed. We have a lot of ambiguities in the Virgin Islands Code as well as in the Revised Organic Act of 1954, which I'm going to ask the question now since that topic came up, because, and I'm not putting it in a particular order, but one of the questions I ask all the guests is, do you believe that we should have a constitution for the Virgin Islands that would replace the revised Organic Act of 1954? And what amendments would you recommend should be in that document?
So let me just say that in 2004, that issue did come up. I'm not saying it's not a legitimate issue, but it never came up. Okay, so look, my position on the Organic Act and the Constitution is, yes, I would like to have a Constitution. Okay. However, a lot of people in jail would like to be out of jail also. So on a practical level, we've tried 5 times and failed. Okay, so what we have to recognize is that it's not our fault that we failed. You know, if you blame us, you're blaming the victim. Congress gave us an Organic Act.
Right.
They also made the process, and I don't think they did this deliberately, to change it into a constitution impossible. Okay, they gave us an Organic Act that we, on a practical level, we were not able to change. And as proof or as evidence, we've tried 5 times in good faith, spent a lot of money, and it hasn't happened. And now we're going through a 6th. And you know, if I don't get elected, I hope it happens, but I hope not. I only because we've had 5
Well, how
times
would you ensure the success of the 6th Constitutional Convention?
So what I would look forward to, and it's not that we can't do that, is that I'm near certain that, because I've talked to people at the Department of Interior, I've talked to congressmen, that we can get Congress through the Department of Interior. They'll go to bat for us. They're a cabinet level position. They sit next to the president. Give us a more normal way to change the Organic Act, which would be the same as the way Florida can change its constitution, or New York. You have get a certain amount of signatures, it goes on the ballot, you need a certain amount of votes, and then you can change it. Okay, there's no reason for them not to do that, and it doesn't cost them any money. And if the Department of Interior would like it done as a way to improve the Virgin Islands, they always go along with their recommendations for approval, as long as they don't cost them any money. And we would then be able to change anything we don't like, anything and everything we don't like about the Organic Act through this new amendment process, which would be functionally, at a practical level, the same as having a constitution. Now, it's not a great starting point, but it is a constitution, and we could change anything and everything about it. And of course, that would have to get approved by Congress and change. But look, anytime a state changes its constitution, the Supreme Court is watching. It's a federation.
Well, that sounds similar to what has been proposed by the current delegate to Congress, Stacey Plaskett. And I supported that proposal.
Yes.
Simply adopt the revised Organic Act of 1954, submit that with an amendment that's saying that once it's approved, then we can make the amendments to it.
Right.
Save us money, save us time, but that's not what's happening. What's happening now is the 6th Constitutional Convention appears to be rewriting a lot, drafting a lot, and then there's the issue of defining who is a native Virgin Islander. That's a stumbling block, because some people feel we should be identified. I mean, I disagree, but everybody have a different position on that. I don't see why it's necessary to have a definition in the Constitution, because the Constitution should be for everybody, whether you're native or non-native. The same as the U.S. Constitution. If they had to define who's a Native American, that would exclude a lot of people. So I like something that's inclusive. So what's your thought on that? If we are just simply the 6th Constitutional Convention, and there was a referendum, the people overwhelmingly support the idea to adopt the revised Organic Act of 1954, as our constitution and then make the amendments after the approval by Congress. What's your thought on that?
I think that misses the point. a little
Okay.
bit. Well, first of all, I've had this proposal since 2004, including direct discussion with Stacy Plaskett before she was delegate. And they changed my proposal, which people do in a way where it won't work. You don't want to submit a request that it becomes our constitution. You don't have to do that. It's redundant. What we want to do is ask to be able to amend the Organic Act in a different manner than they've provided. They've already provided a way to amend the Organic Act. We can have a constitutional convention and write our own constitution.
Yes,
that's a way to amend.
Yes, that's a way to amend it.
We want a different way to amend the same Organic Act. And so it's a different request, goes through different channels, and has, I'd say, 100%, almost 100% chance of approval. But they won't do it that way.
So you saying by referendum?
No.
By
we work with the Department of Interior. We'll talk with our the Undersecretary for who covers the Virgin
But
Islands.
who would make the request?
The Department of Interior, the Cabinet,
I mean, who from the Virgin Islands would make the request?
the delegate
The delegate?
works with the Department of Interior, like they do now, and they ask the Department of Interior. The Secretary of the Interior sits with the delegate. I'll go with the delegate, whoever it is. We'll sit with the department. You'll be there from the Department, Secretary of Interior. We'll say, we would like to request that you change the way we amend the Organic Act. Instead of the constitutional process, just give us a normal one like the states. The one you gave us doesn't work. We've tried 5 times. It's been a good faith effort. We just need something more normal way to change it. And then the Secretary of Interior is going to be happy with that. No problem. They go to the president and just ask to have it changed. And then they'll go to Congress with the support of the president to just change the amendment process.
They have to appeal the law, though, the public law 94-854 that stipulates
So
the authorizes the legislature to establish conventions.
yeah, but they revise the Organic Act all the time. They revised it.
The Congress does it all.
Yes. So
It has been
the
revised.
Secretary of the
many
Interior,
times. It's
with the
amended.
approval of the President of the United States, goes to Congress and says, could you make this amendment for us to the Organic Act?
So
We'll
you say
want to
we will
change.
amend it ourselves.
Yeah, well, we already have that, but the process is
Without
impossible.
a convention.
Yeah, give us an easier process, a normal process. Give us the same process that any state has. Pick any one. Just copy one. And we'll do that. We'll have, for example, Florida does this,
Okay.
and then we'll have a way to amend it. And it's a non-disruptive. There's no dispute over that. There's no obstacles to having that happen.
Maybe that could happen because right now they're struggling over who's native and who's not native, who's ancestral, and
Right, and then that would have to be an amendment, which would have to have signatures. It would have to go to a general election, and then it would have to go to Congress for approval instead of holding up the whole process of having a constitution. That would be something that would be done within the process instead of something that's being stopped by the process.
Okay, that's different. And as you alluded to, both of you have been involved in your community and calling you especially customer service, which I think is an asset. We want to welcome people from different places here. We want to invite them and possibly everybody can't come here and live here. However, I mean, say gracious 84 square miles. However, we need to embrace diversity. So my question first to you, Colin, is in your role in this community, how you believe we could enhance Virgin Islands pride, enrich our history, promote culture, Virgin Islands culture, with however you define it, and make the Virgin Islands of the United States a better place.
Well, I think Virgin Islanders are a little different in some respects. When I go into a store in the United States, people don't usually greet me. When I go into a doctor's office here or anywhere, there could be 25 people in there and they're all saying good morning.
Yes.
So you have a lot to work with to start. And like Warren says, you go into these government offices and for some reason you walk out not feeling like you were welcome. Well, I don't think it's going to take a lot to turn that around, because you're starting with a base of people who want to be cordial. Just for somehow they haven't been led in that direction. I don't know whether it's management. I'm not sure what the reason is, but I think you've got a good base to start with. I'm not that good on the island's history, so I can't comment on that just yet.
Well, you living here.
Yes, and
yes.
I've been to the museums and so on, and my wife worked.
You contributing to the history by actually your commitment and dedication to improving lives in the Virgin Islands.
And my wife worked at the Wim Museum for a little while, and so we have an interest in it. We just have been retired here, so I haven't been involved in any businesses or such.
But
But I have a background in that. And knowing Warren got interested in being governor, and we talk about the things that we can do for the Virgin Islands, it got me wanting to support him. And so he starts with ideas and then says, now I want you to go in this direction, helping me bring businesses or helping me improve our relationship with the community. And that's what I want to do.
Okay, and customer service.
Yeah.
I think that's a complaint when you go to government office.
Right.
Some people walk out feeling frustrated.
Yeah. And I'm one of those people that have walked out being frustrated. But I think, so we have a lot to work with. Like I said, I think that as a group of people, the Virgin Islanders don't want it to be that way. They want to be friendly, and they're more interested in having good relationships with other people. We just have to build on that, and it hasn't been done. I don't know why it stopped it, whether it was stopped by management or what got in the way to impede it. I haven't really studied that, but I do believe that you have a great base to start with.
Thank you.
In my business, I had 300 and 400 doctors, 300 or 400 lawyers, and people from all walks of life. I had 2,500 customers in my club. And so I had a lot of people to take care of and a lot of staff to take care of. And so we built our business from nothing to 2,500 people just on good service.
That's great. And Warren, as you mentioned, you've been in banking industry, you've been in the insurance industry. I think that's an asset that you two make up a team.
Let me give you an example. I went to get a mortgage on my house, and I called J.P. Morgan, where I have my bank accounts in New York. And the New York banks, the U.S. money center banks, have the lowest interest rates. Okay, and by maybe 1 full percent. So I said, "Can I get a mortgage on my house?" They said, "No." I said, "Why not?" He said, "Well, you're in the Virgin Islands. We are not allowed to make mortgages in the Virgin Islands. It would not be what they call a qualifying loan. If they make a mortgage, it immediately has to be considered a bad loan." I said, "Well, you're redlining the Virgin Islands. How can you do that?" He says, "It's not us." He said, "It's the regulators, the federal regulators." Okay, and so the federal regulators have redlined. They've blocked out the Virgin Islands and probably Puerto Rico from being able to deal with the money center banks on a personal level. I can still deal with them on a business level. And so instead of paying, 5% on a loan, I have to pay 6 or 7% at a local bank. And everybody is being cut out of the low interest rates available through the money center banks, no matter how good your credit is or collateral is, because of where we live. And for them, the federal regulators, to redline a community like the Virgin Islands is unconscionable.
I know.
Okay, and I've talked to other candidates about it. I've mentioned it at debates. And while I ran, I sat there 8 years ago in front of all the candidates and went through it, and nobody does a thing about it. And we're going to do something about that.
Great.
Yeah, and that's just like one small example of how, I don't know if I'll call my banking experience, applies. The other way is on how to refinance all the government debt. Now, we have about $2.5 billion of debt. I know how to refinance that and save us at least 1%, maybe 2 or 3% on the interest rate. And I've been in the governor's office showing it to them. And it just doesn't sink in. Okay, and I don't need to explain that unless you're new, you're
Well,
not
I
new
can
here,
see,
right?
I can see why you decide you want to run.
Yeah, and so, but when I save that money, okay, that is going to go into the citizens' dividend. We're talking about $500, $600, $700 million that I'm going to bring in that wouldn't have otherwise been here. That will go into the citizens' dividend, be paid out to everyone who voted, and which with today's 20,000 voters is almost, it's like $30,000 per voter. Okay, cash. Okay, and the Virgin Islands government can run perfectly fine on the money it's already bringing in. The extra money I get, I'm doing this to pay out because the people living here need this a whole lot more than the government right now. And it's transformational, and I don't want anybody to be left out. I don't want anybody coming to me next year saying, oh, my neighbor got $30,000. Why, how come I didn't get it? You had to register and vote. Well, I didn't know that. Okay, don't be left out. Register, vote. That's all you vote for anybody you want, but register and vote so you get on the list.
Okay.
If you want to participate, register, vote. Okay.
So you're not telling them register and vote for me?
No, I'm saying register and vote.
Okay.
Okay. The worst thing that could happen to me is people getting left off that list because they didn't know about it.
Okay. Well, that's great news. My theory why you sometimes get lousy services at government office is low morale. And the low morale is related to some government employee feeling that they're not getting a sufficient salary for what they're asked to do. So they're definitely not going above and beyond the call of duty. And when they look and see the disparity with the supervisor, commissioner, the salaries that they receive when they're supposedly are the ones doing most of the work to carry the department, I believe that's what the low morale is coming from. How would you address that?
Well, I would agree, and I think it's a general problem. And I think this citizens' dividend is going to affect everybody's low morale. The entire economy.
Yeah, if I feel valued and I'm being paid what I think I'm worth.
But yeah, if you look at salaries here, they're like half the national average. And it's an absolute disgrace. But I know the reason for that. And I can't fix that reason right away, but I can work to get it changed. And do you want a minute for the reason for that? I've been talking about this for a long time.
Well, I see, before you say that, let me say this. I believe there's a disparity between the average government employees and the elected officials. Like the governor of the U.S. Virgin Islands makes more than twice that of the governor of Puerto Rico, with a population about 3 to 4 million. And our senators are among the highest paid in the nation. The commissioners. So I think that's part of why people feel low morale. And then the corruption. That's the next factor.
So I agree. But if the governor's salary were cut in half, would that make everybody feel better?
I think it'll make a lot of people feel better, yes.
Even though they're still only making $35,000, and they can't even afford to live with mom with that.
That's my thought. I know everybody may not feel like me. I personally think all who making $85,000 and above should have their salary reduced by 10%.
And we can
balance it out.
Right, and we can do that, but it's not going to help that person not making it. They need more.
Well, they're going to get more from the 10%.
No.
Increase theirs by 10%. Decrease those who making a certain amount. Decrease by 10% to balance.
The numbers don't add up. It's top head. It doesn't add up. The money you would save might increase the average person's salary by, I don't know, $100 a year or something. It's not a lot of money. That's not.
Okay.
It needs to go up, which is my goal. More than I'm certainly would cap the others until.
Well, I could work with that. But theirs needs to go up.
Yeah.
The others need to be capped at least.
Yeah.
Maybe not reduced, but at least capped.
Yeah.
They don't need no more raises.
Because look, you don't want people running for this. You don't want to limit people who run for Senate only to people who don't need the money. And in those states where they don't pay anything to volunteers or they make a token $25,000 a year, you look at who's in the state legislature. It's only the rich people who have money.
Right.
Okay, so keeping that salary down is a method of keeping regular working people from being able to afford to be representative. It's a way to keep power at the top. And I don't want to promote that here.
Well, what do you think about the idea of giving them leave to go campaign? The government allowing you stop time while still on the NOPA. You're still employed,
yeah.
but they allowing you time to campaign.
Yeah.
Rather than you just leaving for a period of time and no campaign.
Yeah, so it's part of the attempt, and I'm not saying it's perfect, to democratize the Senate. So the people in there aren't only the people who are wealthy
or
retired and can afford it. So if you want just wealthy retired people in there, that's how you do it. You put things that keep other people from being able to do it. You have a low salary. You don't let them campaign while they're in the job. These are things that people do. It's very insidious. It's a way to keep people down. And so I'm just saying, I want to just throw out the policy now necessarily, but I understand that.
I understand.
I'm a progressive economist.
You have to have money to campaign.
Right.
And if you are a government employee and you have to take leave and take your time.
Okay, so
that could be a financial strain.
So I'm a progressive economist. I'm looking at moving things from the bottom up, not from the top down, not this trickle down stuff.
Okay.
So we've got to make sure that people are supported from the bottom up. And so that's one way. That's just one example of that you're talking about. So now I don't think that in the Virgin Islands, with the cost of living the way it is, with WAPA about to go up because of the oil crisis, that's where all the power comes from. Okay, that a senator making $85,000 is a rich person. Okay, he's getting by on this island. He's doing okay, but he's not driving a Mercedes and flying on a private jet to the Super Bowl. Okay, he's not, an elite, wealthy person. He has prestige for being a senator, but not because of his money. But I do think that people only making $35,000 or $40,000 or $50,000 in the government are being kept down, depressed, and that's the problem more than the senator.
Well, I guess it's a matter of perception because some people feel that the senators are getting a lot of perks and they feel that they're not getting enough. So that's how some people look at it.
Well, the people who are getting less are the ones that I focus on. Now, if the senators were making $850,000, I'd say, yeah, okay, now we've got a problem. But in this island, and 10 years ago, when they went to $85,000, that was a lot. But after 10 years of inflation, that's like $40,000.
But look at what the senators of Puerto Rico make, or the governor, and how they compare both U.S. territories and incorporated U.S. territories.
So, we again, I'm going to look at ourselves first and our own standard of living and what's going on here. And so now I've forgotten your original question.
About the low morale and
so for low morale. So I think part of the low morale.
Alluded to.
Oh yeah, I was going to tell you why we're on.
Yes.
Because you can't solve the problem until you know where it's coming from. Otherwise, and so our problem is you have to think of a flower. There's two flowers, the ones growing in the States and the ones growing here.
Okay.
The ones growing in the States get water every day. The ones growing here don't get any water till they're about ready to die. Then they get some water, they get perked up, and then it gets cut off. And then when they're about to die, they do it, while the ones in the States are getting watered every day. Now, let me explain what I mean by that water. And this is a little complicated, but that's my expertise, okay? And if people don't understand it, I can't help that, but it's the truth. I've talked to the Federal Reserve about this, and they 100% in alignment with what's going on. They cover the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico with their country reports. I've discussed it with their analysts in depth. Okay, we get to keep our own income taxes. So if we send $100 to Charlotte or Maui, we get $100 spent in the Virgin Islands. The states don't get to keep their own income taxes. So if Florida sends $100 to Washington for income tax, the people of Florida They don't get that. Okay. They're depending on the federal government then spending that money back in the states, not just their own state. Well, the federal government not only spends $100 back to Florida, they spend $140. So where's that extra $40 coming from? That's the federal deficit you've heard about. It's not anybody's tax money. Florida sends $100 of tax money to the states.
Right.
They get $140 of cash money spent back in Florida because the federal government spends in all the states. Okay, so they get more than they send by like 40%. And the big number
we said none.
We send $100 to Charlotte and Maui, we get $100. Florida sends $100 to Washington, they get $140. Okay, now the real number is Florida's. The states send $5 trillion to Washington. Washington spends $7 trillion. They're getting $2 trillion more. They're getting watered by $2 trillion on a daily basis, $2 trillion a year, whatever that is every day, continuously. We send, whatever, 300 million to Charlotte and Maui. We get 300 million on what our personal taxes are spent here. That's it. We get extra federal money, like the states do, but only when the flower's about dead, only after a hurricane, only after a disaster. FEMA, it's just enough to fix the disaster.
Right.
Okay. And when I talked to the officer in charge of the country reports for Puerto Rico, because Puerto Rico is the same thing. Their salaries are 50-60% of the states. I said, I think that if you do your econometrics, that's what they call their science, you'll see that explains the difference in salaries. And he said, I don't have to do the econometrics. I can tell just by looking. You're absolutely right. Okay, that difference has permanently disadvantaged us for the last 75 years or however long we've been a territory under these arrangements. The Organic Act was 54.
We always have
2017,
that issue.
over 100 years. So we're at a permanent disadvantage.
We always seem to have a deficit.
Yeah, well, that's different. That because we're not getting that money from Washington that the states are getting. And if we had been getting that the whole time, we wouldn't have these problems, but we're not. And so the citizens' dividend, which takes some of the money from the federal government, like I just explained, and pays it out to everybody, is only a first step in getting us to where we would normally be. And because we're not there, they blame us. They blame the victims. Okay, and they're completely wrong. We are the victim here of this federal policy that spends the extra money in the states, but not here on a regular basis. So it's a little complicated, but what I'm saying is I understand almost to the penny why we are underpaid. And from that comes the solution on how to get to parity with the states, which would be government salaries, 30-40% higher than they are now. Okay.
Are you familiar with the legislation, proposed legislation by the governor pertaining to micro distilleries and breweries? You familiar with that? That was sent to the senators?
I didn't read the bill. I saw the headline, but I didn't read the bill.
Okay. Are you familiar with the controversy with Prosperity Farm Distillery?
Yeah, the one out in Fredericksburg.
Yeah. You familiar with that?
I read the story. And about how the difficulties he's had to get done what he wants to get done.
Do you believe that, particularly the island of St. Croix, embraces investments openly? Or because, well, from my point of view, it seems like on the island of St. Thomas, there's less opposition when it comes to investors starting something here. Like, for example, the Diageo deal. Most of the opposition came from St. Croix. And in the final analysis, well, there were only 2 senators on St. Croix that voted for the Diageo deal. And now we know how it has impacted with the cover over and the retirees getting their annuity checks timely, because there was a time when it was just looming over our heads, retirees, that the GRS system is going to crash. I think they were predicting that in 2023, called that. in 2024?
Yeah, no, I was in the middle of that.
Okay. So the question then I really have, and you already pretty much stated what you believe are the priorities, but I'm going to ask each of you to tell me, how would you describe the state of the territory, and what are 5 issues, important issues you believe the government of the Virgin Islands needs to address? The 5 most important issues.
Okay, well, those are listed on the platform.
Okay,
I've
that's
got
why I said
I've
you
got that
already,
here. I've already put the platform out. Yeah.
but
Right here. I got a larger print.
you could
Your eyes are
elaborate.
better than mine. Here we are.
Yeah, elaborate on that.
So we're part of the Green Party.
Mhm.
So number 1 is a clean, safe, sustainable environment. That's very important, particularly on St. Croix. Okay, which would include conservation and recycling initiatives.
Mhm.
Okay, for St. Croix. Number 3, which is the first financial thing that's imperative, is to establish a citizens' dividend to progressively support the economy. It provides direct cash payments to everyone who voted. Okay, and this is desperately needed. We've been underpaid and underwatered. Our flower is dying for a long time. It's not our fault. We've been the victims. I've identified where I will get the money, and that I'll be paying it out
Mhm.
to all the voters. You must vote to participate, to be able to vote. You must register to vote. Please make arrangements to register to vote. I feel like I'm competing. I'm not
That's a
competing.
great incentive to register to vote.
Yeah.
You remember you compared it to Alaska.
Yeah. Now, Alaska has a citizens dividend. Very
Okay.
good. Thanks, Colin. I forgot that. And they pay out something like $1,500, $2,000. We're going to be paying out a lot more, $25,000,
To each
$35,000.
register voter.
Yeah. Now they pay it out based on a different formula, but it's called the citizens dividend. It's perfectly legal to do this. They use oil and gas revenues, which on a per capita basis are much smaller than what I'm doing.
Mhm.
We have fewer people and more money, so you're going to be getting much larger payouts. But it's patterned after Alaska. So if you want to look at how they work
Mhm.
theirs, you can look up Alaska's citizens dividend, and that's where I got the name,
Okay.
the Citizens Dividend Program. Okay, to support our economy. So you can imagine how all the merchants, all the churches will be supported when all their memberships, all their clients, all the residents that voted. Please vote.
You can spend money
Have this
and
money.
to circulate in our economy.
It's a reset. It's a big reset for
Mhm.
most people who live here. Now, if there are people out there who don't need the money, that's fine. Donate it to your church, or think about all your friends and relatives who do need the money. Don't deprive them of that, please. So, and that's our main thing. Now, I've run before, and I had all the rest of these things I'm going to talk about. Number 4 is hospitality. We just talked about supporting youth and school programs. I'll talk about.
Mhm.
But I've done this before. They've been good, solid programs, and I showed how I was going to bring this money in for the government to do these things.
Mhm.
And I did not win the elections. Okay, people didn't vote for that, and I thought about it. And I said, what's wrong with this equation? And I talked to when Epstein died a few
Mhm.
years ago. I read that he had $570 million in his estate. And I went to Governor O'Brien, and I said, just put an IRB lien on this estate. We'll say that he misrepresented his business, which he did, obviously,
Mhm.
and that we're disallowing every deduction that we ever gave him, plus interest and penalties for the last 30 years, whatever it's been. And so that money is ours. And we will get to keep that entire $570 million general fund money that can be used for all these Band-Aids at the hospital and everything else we've desperately needed. And he wouldn't do it. He just wouldn't do it. And I'll go into details of conversations, but he just wouldn't do it. And I said to myself, if you just took this money in and just paid it out to everybody, that would be $25,000 a person. If you don't want to do it at least.
What you say the figure? $570 million.
Yeah.
How much we got when the Attorney General Denise
Yes.
George filed the lawsuit against J.C. Morgan? How much
So
we got?
we wound up with a total of approximately $120 million, which was a fraction of it.
Compared to $570
Yeah,
million?
and it wasn't general fund money. It was put in funds for victims or whatever. I don't know. and he used some of it for a couple of things. But the rest he just left on the table. He went to it. He said, and in fact, at the time, he said, well, we're going to use the Justice Department approach instead of this. I said, why would you do that? You can do both. And with this, there's no lawsuits, there's no depositions, and instead, he went.
Has the money been spent? Do we know?
Some of it's still there.
It's still there?
Because it's not just general fund money.
And the hospital you have is not a,
You're
talking about the money
They
going.
used some of it for the hospital, I believe, a portion of it, but there's a controversy over whether it was even eligible for that or not. But they did it anyway. But this would have been 570 million general fund money. Do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, no stipulations, no restrictions, unrestricted funds. But the point is, he wouldn't do it, and he could have taken it and just paid it out. Okay, and he wouldn't do that either. And so I said to myself, okay, I'm going to run for governor. I'm going to bring in money in, but not so it gets 35 million gets into a ballpark that's never finished, right? Or gets squandered somewhere else. It's something that never disappears, never happens. I'm going to pay it out to everybody. And then when it gets paid out, don't forget, people have to pay income taxes. So we'll get our share back, which is more money than we got from the Epstein. The income taxes we're going to get off the citizens' dividend will be more than the 100 million we got from Epstein. But give it up, pay it out to everybody. That's where the money's needed right now.
Well, let me ask you about that dividend.
Yeah.
Only registered voters
Who
would
vote?
be.
You have to vote.
Voters that vote
Yes.
actually vote.
Yes.
And will that have to be taxable income?
Yes. We can't get around that.
Okay, so it's government getting money
Yeah,
because if
Some
it's
of it,
tax,
portion.
yes,
Yeah. Any money you get, some goes to the government.
of course,
You
because
buy
you gotta pay
something, so
taxes.
you buy something, you're going to still pay grocery receipts tax.
Exactly.
Not change. Can't change that.
Okay, so anything else on that platform you want to
Sure.
highlight?
you're on number 6.
Yeah. 6 would be the schools. Number 6, pave the roadways with concrete. Okay,
Mhm,
concrete costs twice as much, but it lasts 10 times as long.
mhm,
Instead of 2 or 3 years, you get 30 years or more.
mhm.
And there are no potholes, there's no problems. We have a concrete road in Gallows Bay that goes from the main road down into Gallows Bay, concrete. It's been there for years. There have been
Mhm.
floods all the time, and there's not a single pothole, not a single problem. Other islands use concrete.
Was that the one by the stoplight as you
Yeah,
drive in?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's kind of a light color instead of the dark color. It's a
Hmm.
different color. It's concrete.
Right.
Okay, and we have FEMA money for enough for 80 miles of asphalt roads, which I would use for 40 miles of concrete roads, which is
Mhm.
plenty to get all the problematic roads done in concrete, and we'll never see another pothole from those roads. Again, I shouldn't say that. Somebody might have a car crash or drop a bomb or something, but for all practical purposes,
Yeah.
we're
Will
going to
be
have
long lasting
we'll have-
compared to the
we'll have
asphalt.
good, solid 30-year roads compared. And you know what somebody wrote on Facebook when I put that in? Well, of course you want that. You own a concrete company. It's like, people are so cynical. But I did have a concrete company years ago, which I sold. I don't have a concrete company.
Okay.
15 years, 10 years, whatever. But even so.
But that would be a conflict of interest if you were to be governor
That's
and
right.
then use your own
If I had a-
concrete company.
If I had any connection like that, I would fully disclose it, like I always do about everything. And the reason I'd opened the concrete company was to bring the price down. And then I got lawsuits for bringing the price down. That's against the law, apparently. They call that price fixing by lowering the price. It's like, sorry. Now, the lawsuit hasn't gone anywhere, but, it's like no good deed goes unpunished.
Right.
And but that's been long gone. And now, and anyway, when you have a big road project for concrete like that, what generally happens is the contractor sets up his own concrete plant.
Okay, well,
He doesn't-
thank you for accepting the invitation
Okay.
once again. It was a pleasure. And your platform can be found in Virgin Islands Affairs Forum. I look forward to the debates.
Yeah.
And a full discourse on your plan, this dividend plan.
Citizens dividend.
Citizens dividend sounds intriguing. So,
And the strong message is to Register and
And vote.
vote.
Register to
Don't-
vote. I
Don't get
encourage
left
everybody.
out. Do not get left out.
Yes.
Be well informed. Know your rights as a citizen, as a registered voter. I'm encouraging everybody to participate in the process. I believe knowledge is power. So be well informed, get to know all the candidates, vet your candidates. It's an individual choice when you go to the polls. So any final words, and then we're gonna wrap up.
Let me ask you, who are the announced candidates right now?
Well, there are many candidates. There are many candidates that have started campaigning, but I don't think at this point anyone has picked up any nomination paper. So right now it's just prospective candidates because we're not going to know until nomination papers are signed and received and vetted who are actually qualified to be on the ballot. But I'm hearing like at least 10 for the gubernatorial race, about 10 teams. So it sounds exciting. So one final message you want to give.
Please don't be left out. Register and vote. Please register and vote.
I
Do not be
enjoyed
left out.
hearing why people don't have a good attitude from you. That helps me think about that.
And again, once again, thanks for being here. Thanks to all those of you who have been listening. You can give your input on the WSTX Facebook page, also and Virgin Islands Affairs Forum. Live, listen, learn, love, and levitate.